Hey everybody, welcome back to another video from Fly with Trent. Today we're going to try something a little bit different and we're going to do a short interview with a guy by the name of Philip. And I discovered him in a Facebook group where he'd made a post about how he got to the right seat. I believe it was of a Hawker jet at a pretty low amount of hours. And so I reached out to him and asked him if he would do an interview to share with us the path that he took and the lessons that he learned and how he got himself into what I consider to be a pretty amazing job for a guy with his amount of hours. Hopefully you will find this interesting. If you do, please make sure you leave comments and questions. And if you want me to do future videos that are interviews like this, it's definitely something that I can work on here on the Fly with Trent channel. I just need to make sure that they're popular and they get a lot of views relative to the other types of videos that I do. So it's all on you to give me that feedback. So with that said, let's dive into the interview with Philip. Hey guys, Trent here from the Fly with Trent channel. Today we have Philip Krzyszton with us. A very difficult name for me to say. I found him in a Facebook group and he made an incredible post that talked about some results in terms of his flying career that I thought you would really all be interested in hearing. So I reached out and asked him if he'd be kind enough to do an interview for the Fly with Trent channel. He obviously said yes, because here we are. Philip, can you start off? Just tell us, how many hours do you have and what job do you have right now? Because it's a pretty incredible outcome.
Yeah, so right now I'm creeping up on about 500 hours, but I got hired on at 275 hours flying right seat on a Falcon 20 with a Part 135 cargo operator.
So that's pretty cool, and I think a lot of people would be surprised to think that you could get into such an amazing opportunity with so few hours, and that's really what I want to unpack in this interview so that other people might be aware of ways to further their career that they may not have thought of. So how did you get started on this journey, and when did that take place?
I started out in high school. It was we were going through the COVID times where everyone was sitting at home, and I thought, well, this is boring. I want to do something exciting. So I started going off on doing some ground schooling here and there for the private license. And while I was doing that, I just was talking to other people that I would run into at the airport and whatnot, trying to get different options. And one that I thought kind of stuck out to me was a lot of people talking about an A&P mechanic. I grew up on the farm. We were working on tractors, so I've always kind of been mechanically minded. And so that kind of seemed like a good opportunity to get in another rating under my belt that would bring more value to a company when I would end up going and pursuing the flying side of the career.
Okay, so your main reason for choosing the A&P was you thought this would be another way to differentiate myself from the other pilots and bring a set of skills to the table that maybe they don't possess.
Yep.
Okay. How long, I know nothing about getting an A&P, so how long does that take to do, and what does it cost to do?
So there's a couple of different ways to get it. The most popular way is to go through an A&P school. It's kind of like a Part 141 school for the flying side, but it's a Part 145 college program to get the A&P. Those can differ a little bit. Some are an 18-month program, some will be 2 years with the summer off, some will be just straight 2 years, so there's a little differences there.
Okay.
But it took me pretty much 2 years to get the A&P license.
And that was 2 years full-time?
Yep.
Okay, and were you able to finance the tuition in some way?
Yeah, so I ended up doing pretty much all of it through scholarships.
Okay.
There are scholarships out there just everywhere, and surprisingly enough, most people just don't apply to them, and so they're very willing to get them out. And
okay, so you came out of A&P school with no debt then?
Pretty much, yeah.
Nice. Okay. And now your flight ratings, were you working on those at the same time you were going to A&P school?
I was. So we had school. It was kind of set up more of like a high school schedule in a way, where we had school from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon. And then I had a part-time job that was starting at night, at 8 o'clock at night. So then I had a few hours kind of in between, and then that's when I would do my flight ratings. And I'd go, the airport that the A&P school was at didn't have any flight training, but the one next door did, so just went down the road a little ways to the next airport over and did all the ratings there.
And were you able to finance any of that, or were you paying for that out of savings? How'd you pay for it?
That one I just paid for while I was working, so it really helped that I had all the scholarships helping out with the college A&P school side, so then pretty much all of the funding I got from my part-time job went into flight training.
Okay, so A&P school 2 years. During that 2 years, you got all the ratings that you needed to get the job that you have now, if I got that right? Okay. So the magic now is the networking aspect. And I know in the post that you made on Facebook, you spoke specifically to that. And I think that's what I really want people to take away most from this interview. So while you were going to college for A&P, you probably, I mean, was there a lot of networking at that point, or did the networking really begin once you started to work as an A&P?
Honestly, most of it started out when I was going to school for the A&P license. It was based at an airport that had a lot of cargo operations in and out of it, and I would find myself just talking to people as it came through, and a very common question I'd have is, I'd ask them, what would you like to hear if you were just starting out in your career as advice? And everyone was willing to give advice, share their stories, say things they wish they could have done differently, and just they would say, oh, there's a new company that's starting up over in this town. Maybe they'd be a good people to check out. And it's just, once you start talking to people, then they can lead you to other people that might know another company or other doors that might open. And once you start building a small network, it'll just start growing and growing and growing. I guess that's what I did all through A&P school.
And so the term, I think, if I remember correctly, that you used in the post, you called yourself an airport rat. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So by taking the path that you took, it enabled you to spend a great deal of time at the airport, right?
Yep.
And so by having all of that time at the airport, you created multiple opportunities to meet new people and ask them, hey, what advice would you like to give? What advice would you like to give? And out of all that networking, that's ultimately how you ended up in the job that you have now. Is that right?
That is correct, yeah.
So is there any other, for folks who don't consider themselves to be a great networker, or maybe aren't super clear on how to get from point A to point B, like what words of wisdom can you share with those folks so that they ideally would be able to take a similar path to you if that was their desire?
I guess if people struggle with networking, that's something I was kind of worried about too, because I'm honestly a very introverted person. I tend to like to let everyone else do the talking. But what seems to really work for me too is just allowing other people to share their story and let them talk. So I guess I would just ask them, like, how'd you get into aviation? What kind of pathways did you take? And then they'd just start talking, and kind of from there let the conversation flow. And I also would kind of look at the people that I would sit there and think, oh, I'd want to be this person someday. And then those were the people I'd go and kind of pick out and start talking to.
So the magic there, coming from a guy who's done a lot of networking, the magic there is people love to talk about themselves. And all you need to do is give them an opportunity to talk about themselves by asking them a good question or two, and they will go on. And oddly enough, they will like you, because somewhere in their brain, and this happens with all humans, is the more we get to the more I get to tell you about how amazing I am, the more I like you. And that's just the way the whole networking thing works. And of course, a lot of people do have a genuine desire to help others. And so when you're out there giving them the opportunity to tell you their story and build rapport with you, you're building goodwill. And the natural byproduct of that is they're going to want to help you. And that sounds like that's exactly what happened and got you into a job that, you know, if you were just a resume on the stack of another bunch of other resumes, do you think you would have got it?
No.
Yeah.
And
not a chance.
It's funny enough, because once I did get into the position, I was curious, so I asked my my boss how many people they come through and apply. And he just turned to his desk, opened up his bottom drawer, and there was a stack just thick full of resumes. So if you were just another resume coming in, you'd be put on the bottom and probably never get a call.
Yep, that is absolutely correct. So before we wrap up, and just one final question before my last question. So how many hours are you getting to fly this jet each month?
So when I first started out, it was a little slower time.
Yeah.
But now it's been picking up quite a bit, and I'd be doing probably around 75-ish hours a month.
Nice.
Because, this last rotation, we were just out on the road constantly, and as soon as our minimum rest time came up, then we're out getting another call, and so we've been pretty busy, and I guess we'll stay pretty busy all the way through Christmas time, too.
So that's terrific. You're getting a lot of that great quality turbine time in your logbook, and for a guy who has so few hours, that really differentiates you from a lot of the other folks who are taking the various other paths to get to the 1,500 hours that everybody is hoping to get to. So any parting words of advice for people that are watching this? And if anyone wants to reach out to you, is there a way for them to communicate with you?
Yeah, sure. If they have any questions, they can send me an email. Let me think you have it there, but it's pkrzy02@gmail.com.
Yeah, I'll make sure that I put your email in the video description, because it is a tricky spelling and it'd be hard for people unless they see it.
Yeah. But I guess any other words of wisdom I have is just listen to, it's kind of boring, but listen to what everyone's saying when that are in the positions you want to get to, and network. That's kind of the name of the game nowadays. And just get out there, get your name out there, and start talking to people.
Yep. Be at that airport as much as you can be there. And as one of my mentors, the way he describes it, he says, I'll see if I can remember it exactly, something to the effect of dumb money makes money, or something like that. And Dave, if you're watching, I apologize that I'm butchering it. But in essence, what his lesson to me was, every time you're at the airport, is if the hangar door is open, walk over, introduce yourself. Hey, I'm the new guy here. I'm a new instructor. Or I'm this or I'm that. And simply start conversations with people, because you never know what's going to come out of it. And if you're not at the airport, then you don't get the opportunity to start those conversations.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Philip, it's been a pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much for making the time. And I wish you all the best in your career going forward.
Thank you.
All right. So thanks very much for watching. If you found this video helpful, I would love it if you would smash that like button, because that teaches the YouTube algorithm that this is a worthwhile video, and the algorithm will show it to more people, and that will help the channel to grow. And for that, you would have my eternal gratitude. If you have questions or comments you'd like to add for the Fly with Trent community, please put those down in the comments below, because I read every single one of them myself. And finally, if you'd like to see more videos like this one, and this is your first one, consider becoming a subscriber by clicking that subscribe button, and then as well the little bell, so you get notifications when I have launched new videos. If you'd like more information about me, please visit flywithtrent.com. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in another video soon. Take care. Bye-bye.